The beginning before the beginning. Look, divorce isn't the end of your story. It's the first draft to your comeback. Welcome. Welcome to Divorce Real Talk, the podcast where we cut through the emotions and the BS and give you the real tools for the hardest season of your life. Today's episode is a real powerful one. We're breaking down chapter 1 of the Divorce Playbook, the beginning before the beginning. And this really matters because most people rush straight into divorce without stopping, preparing mentally, emotionally, and strategically. Joining us today, as always, is my co-host and the author of the Divorce Playbook, Gio Sardo. And Gio, look, he doesn't sugarcoat things, as you may have noticed in the other episodes. He doesn't hand out cliches. He gives you the frameworks, boundaries, and the truths.
Rough, rugged, and raw, baby.
Yeah, 100%. Because divorce, look, guys, it's not paperwork. It's war if you're unprepared. And today we'll be talking about why preparation beats reaction every time, why divorce is a business, not personal, and how decisions you make before things blow up can determine how much time, money, and sanity you keep on the other side. So grab a pen. This is going to be where you're going to actually make some notes and your comeback begins. Gio Sardo, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. And, I want to start off by saying the divorce playbook is something that anybody who is either thinking of going through the journey or is going through the journey of divorce needs to have in their corner. It's all about preparation. It's all about strategy. We've said it in the other shows. Marriage is love, divorce is business. This playbook has been designed for anybody out there that needs to get ready, is thinking about divorce, and wants to put all the odds possible on their side.
100%. And it just blew me away. When I read this book, you created it. We talked about it for a long time. And then when it finally came to fruition and it was done, it completely blew me away. So look, Gio, let me ask you. You open up in the book by saying divorce isn't paperwork. It's emotional, financial, mental, and even a spiritual warfare. Why do most people, would you say, underestimate this?
Because they think they know who they're going up against, right? During the marriage, you're living emotions, strong emotions, positive and negative ones. And if you get to the point where things are over, you're no longer fighting to keep the couple together. You're now each looking to create a new beginning. And you can't approach a divorce the same way that you approached your marriage because you're creating your new beginning. I know it sounds repetitive, but we're going to keep on saying it. You're creating your new beginning to a new life that doesn't include this person that you once swore your life to.
Yeah, you hit it right on. And it's uncharted waters, really. So you have to completely prepare yourself for the unknown. And there's nothing better than being prepared, obviously. So
Absolutely. And the thing is, Mateo, like whenever I speak to somebody, whether it's through a family law firm or whether it's with a divorce coaching client, I always hear the same thing to start. But Gio, I don't know what to do. I've never been divorced before. And the answer is the same. It's the same for everybody. You're not supposed to know. Nobody goes into the marriage going, maybe I should learn about how to get divorced just in case. No, nobody does it. Because you hope to God that you never get to that point. But if you do, you got to start being prepared. And the emotions are the first thing that have to go to the side.
yes. And it's not a one size fits all kind of situation. It never is. And look, you say, you've said this many times, and we'll hear it many more times throughout our podcast, that marriage is love, divorce is a business. Okay. Now, that line truly hits hard for me, and I'm sure it hits hard for others. Why is that mindset shift so critical early on?
It's the emotional roller coaster that you need to get off of. You know, marriage is about love, it's about sweetness, it's about being a team, it's about a bond. It's no longer you and another, it's both of you working together. That's what love is supposed to be. Divorce means that this breaks apart and you have to start planning for the next chapter. And the reality is that it hurts, it's difficult, and you need to plan for it. But a divorce, you don't have somebody on the other side that necessarily wants the best. They want the best for you. They want what's best for them. And you're going to want what's best for you. So it's not a lovey-dovey discussion. It gets difficult, especially if you have kids or especially if you have a lot of assets. It's difficult. So you need to approach it like a business with strategy.
Great point. Great point. And you've mentioned before that, you know, going with emotions first, putting the emotions on your sleeve, that kind of mindset, it makes a terrible CEO, they've said. And can you explain what does that look like in real life during a divorce?
Well, look, we've both lived it, Mateo. I'm gonna flip the question back to you. When
Oh,
pick which either divorce. Were there moments where you were reactive and emotional? What
oh,
was the outcome versus actually being logical and strategic and taking proper steps forward? Give us an example from your side.
okay. I absolutely will. And one that really hits home for me during my second divorce. Of course, there was a child involved. And for years, Gio, I was just reacting to everything, emails, texts, anything to do with court stuff, conversations. If something came in, man, I fired back so fast. And it was completely emotionally driven with some, I was mad. I was upset. It was just back and forth. And I kept thinking, she'll understand. This time it will be different. No, she'll know where I'm coming from. And then it hit me, that quote from Albert Einstein that we've all heard, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. And that's exactly true, because it wasn't until I stopped reacting and just took a breath, relaxed, read it several times, and tried to understand where she was coming from, and then reacted appropriately without the emotion, and just seeing, okay, look at the big picture. What is she trying to accomplish by this? And how could this benefit our child? And when I stopped reacting like that, as I mentioned before, everything changed for me. But this took years. Like, this didn't happen. I wish it would have happened, months in. But this took years.
But it takes time to understand the game. And you know what? When you're talking about, like, when it comes to kids, it's absolutely normal. It's the same thing with assets, right? You bought a house together, you have cars, you have investments. He's trying to screw me, she's trying to take everything. And the more that you approach it with that combative style, it's going to cost you more. And it's not good for the divorce. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for any part of this. So if you continue reacting, you're only shooting yourself in the foot.
And some people learn that the hard way, and I did. And this is, one of the reasons we do what we do, is because we want to help people see this earlier. And that brings me to, you say that preparation gives you clarity, gives you that confidence and control. Which one, Gio, would you say is the most important during the early stages of divorce? So that's clarity, confidence, and control. Which one would you say?
Clarity. Because clarity is the fire starter to all of it. You need to start figuring out who's around you. You need to start figuring out what you want. There has to be a clear vision. And once you have that clear vision, you can move forward with the other ones. But you need to know what you want, and you need to take the time to have that clarity. You need to remove people from your environment to give you clarity, because a lot of people, we know it, everyone's got an opinion, but your divorce is different than the other person's divorce is different than the other person's divorce. But everyone is going to give you an opinion, and it's going to muddy the waters as to what is actually good for you. So clarity, absolutely 100% of the time, is what you got to deal with first.
And that totally makes sense to me because clarity will give you direction. If you don't know what you want or how things look like, how would you ever know if you even get there? You don't even know what you want. So by having that clarity, you're spot on. By having that clarity, you at least know what you want and you'll know when you get there. So that's great.
Yeah, no, it's so underrated, Mateo. It's so underrated. In anything that we do in life, we need clarity. We need to know where we're going. We know it. If you do things, if you fly by the seat of your pants, yeah, sometimes you're going to have great success, but more often than not, you're going to reach challenges. And divorce is not where you want to start using guesswork.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's an understatement, I would say. Um, yeah, absolutely. Okay, look, you've included a reflection exercise in the book, all right? And you did this early on. And you made it really clear, don't skip this part. So let me ask you, why do men especially resist reflection?
Everybody does. Um, we see it more with men, but everyone skips reflection because we think that we could build the house without any plans. We know what we're doing. We think we know who we're divorcing. You don't. We think we know the rules. We don't. We think we know the laws. We don't. Oh, but my brother told me that in his divorce it was this. Stop.
Mm,
The reason why I want people to stop and reflect is, I'm going to go back to it, clarity. It's to build that roadmap to where it is that they want to go, so that it's easier to move forward and it's easier to start seeing the danger points of emotions creeping in. It starts to build the strategy so that you can get through. Nobody wants to go through divorce. So if you reflect and you build your game plan, you're going to get through this quicker, more efficiently, and you have the opportunity to save some money along the way.
I could see that. I mean, look, reflection is a chance for you to course correct. You want to go from point A to point B. And during that journey of divorce, if you stop and reflect, especially early on, you realize, okay, I'm to get to B, I have to go in this direction, but I'm going in a completely different direction. I'm reacting, I'm doing this, I'm not preparing. Okay, let me get back on this course so I can get to the other side of what I want. And of course, that's, you know, that comes from clarity from the onset. So yeah,
But think about it like this, right? Like, I'm going to ask you the question because my answer is clear from my experience. Whenever we've worked with clients in divorce coaching, or even in family law, we're not mentioning names, we're not mentioning situations, we're protecting privacy, obviously. But when people take the time to reflect and have clarity and move forward with logic, Do you see an impact on the final attorney invoice than those who advance without a plan, never reflect, and always want to go to war?
Probably the biggest thing that you see is the invoice. When someone does have a plan, does reflect, definitely things are a lot smoother and quicker. I mean, as much as people, contrary to the belief that attorneys just want to bill you and this and that, that's not true. Attorneys want to get things done as quickly and as efficiently as possible for you. You're their client. Ultimately, they want to make you happy and they want to get you to the other side so you
Hold
can.
on a second. Most lawyers. We're going to get to this later in a future episode, but it's, again, you've got 15 to 20%, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, that don't have the best interest of their client at
Mm,
heart. And when we're going to go through how to select your team, how to select your attorney, you can't go with, and I'm going to, poke a little fun at you with what, you had in the episode where you spoke about you. You can't go with the attorney that's just closest to where you live or closest to where you work or that offers the best price, because it doesn't replace experience. It doesn't replace values. So you want an attorney that has the right values in place. And when you start adding all those pieces together, you start building a winning team and you start building a winning strategy. If you can stay calm and logical and find yourself an attorney that knows what they're doing, oh, the difference is astronomical. And I've seen it, personal experience, coaching clients, and even when we've taken on appeals, like we see the errors of some attorneys, and it's like you need to properly do your research to build your team.
yes. Thanks for calling me out on that. I was coming from a place of the attorneys that we deal with because we obviously vet them out and we know that's where I was coming from. But yes, 100%. You have to really do your research. And there are terrible. I mean, how many clients do we get that we have to do substitution of attorneys? They're not happy with the attorney. We hear some of the horror stories. We're like, wow, like they're not returning their calls. They're not. Weeks have gone by. They're missing dates. They show up to court unprepared. Like it's endless the amount of things that we hear.
And the reason why we mention all this stuff, Mateo, is because we know that there's people listening to this podcast that have done the wrong choice in attorneys, that have done the wrong choice in strategy. So I don't want people thinking, oh, but these guys think that, every single attorney is good. They're not. You really, really, really got to do your research. And even when I talk to potential clients, you know, I'll sell the values of the firm that I'm working with, but at the same time, I'll give them guidance of, if you're not going to want to work with us, or for whatever reason we're not a match, I'm hoping that this is what you look for. Because that point of contact has to empower them no matter where they go. Whether they do business with me or not, whether they do business with you or not, it is, in my opinion, our job, our mandate to leave them better than when we found them.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And you talk about building this team, the right team. The attorney, coach, therapist, one or two real friends, okay, and cutting out that gossip committee that we all seem to have during dark days. Why is it so important? I mean, you've talked about the attorney piece, which 100% is one of the most important things. But with the coach, therapist, and just getting rid of that gossip committee, why is
Okay,
that so important?
so think about you going on a road trip from point A to point B, right?
Mhm.
You get on the road, you've got your attorney, you've got your coach, you've got a therapist, you've got those couple of key friends, and you're on a 3-lane highway. There's not much slowing you down. You're going to have a clear road. But if you start adding every Tom, Dick, and Harry who has an opinion and then takes your story and goes to blah, blah, blah to the other and blah, blah, what are you doing? You're adding cars to the road. And the more congestion that you cause on that road, it's going to take you more time to get to your destination, and you increase the probability of having an accident.
Mm. Some of these accidents will be hard to come back from and do a lot more
Some of
damage.
them are impossible to come back from.
Mm.
And we got to be clear here when we talk about choosing your environment, sometimes it's someone that we love that we need to remove. Not because they wish ill on you, it's because they can't keep their mouth shut. I've seen a situation where, you know, a guy goes out and speaks to his uncle, and they go out and they have and the guy genuinely listens, and he, the client feels better after hanging out with his uncle. But then he goes, but I don't understand. He goes, I get to Sunday family dinner and everyone's looking at me with pity.
Mm.
Everyone's looking at me like I'm. And then it happens. You have that one member of the family that goes, oh, but what's going on with this particular subject? And it's like, how did you know? Oh, no, but I was talking with your uncle about you.
Mm.
He told me what's going on. It's not
And it's
that they
like
don't
broken
mean
telephone.
well. You got to make sure that whoever you tell keeps it for them.
Right. And it's like broken telephone, right? It goes from one person to another, and then it's completely from one thing. It's like, oh, you were having problems in your love, in your sexual, in your sex life, or whatever it was, and or she cheated, or whatever the case is. It's completely different from the conversation you had with your uncle because broken. I don't know if you've ever played broken telephone for fun.
Absolutely.
Oh,
It's the story of I caught a goldfish. By the time the story gets spun around, I've caught Jaws.
oh,
But
exactly.
it goes further than that, right? Because when people don't hear it directly from you, they're missing context, they're missing the full story, they're missing whatever. Perfect example. You and I get into a disagreement. I tell you, you know what, Mateo, on this topic, go F yourself.
Hmm.
But then 2 minutes later, we keep talking and everything is cool. But then what do? You go home to your wife and you say, yeah, Gio told me to go F myself. That's it. No context, no, not.
Mhm.
So what happens? Your wife now judges me without knowing the story. Your wife is going to take your side. She's not necessarily going to ask you, but Mateo, what did you do for him to tell you to F off?
Mhm.
Right? So what happens? I come over to your place for supper, and now your wife is looking at me crooked because she thinks that I told you to F off and that I've insulted you. But the reality is that we fixed it 2 minutes later. It's the same reason why I tell people in couples, you keep your stuff in house. Because the second that it goes to the board of directors, right? The group chat, and yes, I know the guys are thinking, yeah, it's mostly the women, but it happens on both sides. The second it goes into the group chat, it's now public, and that person is being judged without the possibility of defending themselves, and they shouldn't even have to defend themselves because it's not the business of anybody in the group chat. So you need to remove all that clutter. You need to remove all that congestion on the highway. And you need to focus only on the ones that are really going to help you get to your destination.
That is so powerful, Gio. What you said, keeping it in house. That is the best thing I've heard. I mean, because imagine you don't keep it in house and you do reconcile, you get back together, whatever. Just think of what everyone else now knows and what everyone else will think about. How are you going to even make your marriage successful after all that gets out, right?
You
So
you can't
that's
and then
oh my god, that's
no matter what the person does afterwards, that's sweet and awesome and great and fantastic. They're always getting, you know, jumped on. There's always that back thought of, okay, yeah, you know what, Mateo seems like he's nice, but I heard the story of this happened, so maybe he's not that great person that everyone thinks he is. There's no need to instill that doubt.
for someone listening right now that's at the very beginning, okay, maybe hasn't even filed yet. What would you want them to understand right now?
You're about to start a journey where you have no idea about what's about to happen. No matter how much you think you know your partner or soon to be ex partner, um, there are things that are going to happen that you don't know, that you're not aware of. You don't know the laws. Um, and you need to be prepared. Because if you're not prepared, it's kind of like going down a dark stairway with two flashlights in your pocket, refusing to take them out. And then you stumble and you fall and you crack your head. And when you get to the bottom and somebody comes to see you to make sure you're okay, they go, but why'd you go down the stairs without the flashlight? You had it with you. And you say, well, I thought I could figure it out without it. Divorce is difficult. Um, Even if you think you've got an easy divorce, it isn't. You've got to be careful. And you really need to plan to avoid getting blindsided for no reason. That's my advice to somebody who is either starting the process or thinking of starting the process.
So in chapter 1, would you say that's the biggest mistake that people make? Is being blindsided, or is there something else?
They think that they can figure it out as they go.
Hmm.
And there's a reason why, for those of you who are going to get the divorce playbook, when you get to the end of chapter 1, I put up a huge stop. I'm like, go back and do it. Because the second that you start jumping steps, the second you start thinking, I don't need to do this to get to the end of my divorce, is where you start making mistakes. And if you make mistakes in chapter 1, you're going to be crying big time come chapter 3, chapter 7, chapter 10, because you're never going to take it as seriously as you should.
And it's not gonna piece together the way it should as well, because it's like, imagine putting together an IKEA, a piece of furniture from IKEA, and starting on step 7. It's just not gonna work.
No, it won't.
That's great advice, Gio. Very, very, very good advice.
You know, it's a process. We hear it often, trust the process. You've read chapter 1. If people blow by that, do you think that they can be successful?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it sets the stage. It sets the stage to all the steps and how important all the steps are. And having that clarity, knowing that you're going into uncharted waters, but knowing the place you want to go to. It's the most important thing.
Yeah, and what I want people to understand is in the divorce playbook, like you can't just jump chapter to chapter. You have to follow. There's a sequence there because chapter 1 lays down the foundation. Right? Chapter 2, you're setting up, you know, the main level of the home, and then you're continuing to build absolutely everything until you have your new home, until you have your new beginning. But if you go all over the place and you think that you're going to win, you're not. It's, you know, I can't stress it enough. Marriage is love, divorce is business, and you have to be strategic about everything that you're going to do.
Well, I think we're near the end of chapter one, my friend. That
Yeah,
could be a wrap.
and as our episodes go on, we're gonna touch on the other chapters, and on certain chapters, we're gonna bring in guests, and it's a long process. So we have a lot for a lot of episodes of this podcast, but you know, to those of you listening, if you're getting fed up about hearing about the beginning and strategizing and this and that, change your mindset because this is the catalyst. This is you getting ready for what's coming. And we cannot stress the importance of this enough. So, you can go to yourdivorceplaybook.com to buy the divorce playbook. And, what we've tried to do, you and I, Mateo, is we want to offer something for everybody. The divorce playbook is available for a small cost, okay? Um, it's not expensive. You can go on the site and buy it. So if you're somebody going through financial difficulty, just reading the playbook is going to be such a huge help for you. Then we've got coming soon the school community, where we're going to take everything from the playbook, put it into the school community, but offer additional support. There's going to be experts in there. There's going to be lives. There's going to be training course. There's going to be everything in there for a small investment every single month. And then obviously, if someone absolutely needs the guidance of you and I by their side, we're going to offer that as well. But no matter what it is, no matter where you're at, what we've created and what we continue to create is there to help people. We've been through it. We've seen hundreds of people go through it. And there is just no reason to not be prepared or to not have guidance.
No reason at all. And this really hits home for me. I wish we had a such thing when I was going through my divorces. I wish there was none of this. And this is why we do this, because we see the value. I mean, yeah, the small price cost of that book, it's, to me, it's priceless. And yeah, there could be some, you might say, oh, he's being biased. No, I'm not. Like, it's priceless. Everything you want to learn has been written in a book, and this book is the book for going through a divorce and
And I'm going to
getting
end on
really
this.
prepared.
It's not Chat GPT.
Mm.
It's not Google University. It's not your Aunt Mary. It's not your Uncle Bob. It's comes from experience. It comes from real world experience. It comes from, you know, our own lives and what we've been through, what we do when we work with family law attorneys, what we do when we work as divorce coaches. It's all brought there for you. And if you want to make this process easier, this is why it's been created. And this is why you and I do what we do. And this is why we're continuing this journey with people to be able to help them. And, the next episodes are just going to continue to have more of that. And if you're going through divorce or if you're thinking about it, we welcome you on this journey because we just want to help.
Well said, brother. Well said.
So, on that note, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode. Episode 5 already. You know,
Woohoo!
we're we're
Yeah,
we're advancing quickly, but I love everything that we're bringing, and um, hope to see you all. Tuning into episode 6.
sounds great.
Take care, everybody.
Peace, brother.